If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. When you talk about chaos in the NFL, when you talk about pure, unpredictable madness, the trade deadline always finds a way to surprise even the most jaded fans. And this year, the biggest bombshell brewing might just come out of Cleveland, where the league's most dominant defensive player, Myles Garrett, finds himself right in the middle of swirling trade rumors that have the entire football world holding its breath. The Cleveland Browns, a franchise constantly teetering between promise and heartbreak, now stand at a potential crossroads that could reshape not only their future, but the entire balance of power in the league. And the team on the other end of the rumor mill? None other than the Philadelphia Eagles, a franchise that's never been shy about swinging big, taking risks, and trying to add that one missing piece to make a Super Bowl run feel inevitable. The report that started it all came from Yahoo Sports NFL insider Charles Robinson, who dropped a bombshell during a radio appearance, saying that the Eagles are hot on Garrett. According to him, Philadelphia is willing to throw down a massive package, and when I say massive, I mean franchise-altering, to get the deal done. We're talking about 3 first-round picks, a king's ransom by any measure, even for a player of Garrett's caliber. 3 firsts. Let that sink in. In a league where first-round picks are treated like gold bars, where teams guard them like a dragon hoarding treasure, the Eagles are reportedly ready to part with 3 of them just for the chance to add Garrett to their already terrifying defensive front. And if you know anything about Eagles GM Howie Roseman, you know he's not afraid to go all in. This is a guy who sees the board like a chess master, always 2 or 3 moves ahead, always looking for the opportunity to turn good into great, and great into unstoppable. Now, let's not forget, this isn't the first time Myles Garrett's name has floated around in trade discussions. The offseason already had its fair share of drama when Garrett reportedly expressed frustration with the Browns organization. He wanted to be part of a winning team, a team that could compete deep into January and maybe even February. The Browns, unfortunately, have not looked like that team for quite some time. The tension between player and organization was obvious. Garrett, one of the most physically dominant pass rushers in NFL history, was tired of wasting his prime years on a team that couldn't seem to get out of its own way. There were whispers, there were phone calls, and then there was the bombshell moment when he signed a new 4-year, $160 million deal, becoming the highest-paid non-quarterback in football at the time. It seemed like a commitment. It seemed like Cleveland had locked in its cornerstone for the foreseeable future. But in the NFL, foreseeable is a dangerous word. Because as we're seeing now, no contract, no promise, no player is ever truly untouchable when the right offer comes across the table. And if we're being honest, this season hasn't done much to cool the fire. Garrett has been dominant. That's never been the issue, but frustration has bubbled to the surface. Just last week, against New England, he put on one of the greatest individual defensive performances in NFL history. 5 sacks in a single game, the most ever by a Browns player, and yet Cleveland still lost by multiple scores. 5 sacks and a loss. That's the kind of stat line that feels like an insult to a player of his caliber. Cameras caught him on the sideline afterward, visibly furious, throwing his helmet and sitting alone on the bench, head down, like a man asking himself why he keeps fighting this uphill battle. That moment might have been the spark that reignited the trade talks. The moment other teams realized that even if the Browns won't admit it publicly, maybe, just maybe, Garrett could be pried away for the right price. From the Eagles' perspective, this move makes perfect sense. They've built one of the most complete rosters in the NFL, but their identity has always been rooted in the trenches. Dominant offensive line, dominant defensive line. That's the Philadelphia formula. They already have Haason Reddick wreaking havoc off the edge, Josh Sweat bringing speed and power, and Jalen Carter emerging as a force on the interior. But imagine adding Myles Garrett to that group. Imagine opposing quarterbacks looking across the line and realizing they're about to face a front that's basically a cheat code. Garrett's freakish blend of size, speed, and technique would turn the Eagles' pass rush into something out of a nightmare. Roseman knows that windows in the NFL don't stay open forever. You've got Jalen Hurts in his prime. You've got a roster that's ready to win now. This is the moment to push all the chips to the center of the table. The problem, of course, is that Cleveland doesn't want to fold. They've made it clear at least publicly, that they have zero intention of trading Garrett. The front office has repeatedly stated that he's the face of the franchise, the cornerstone they plan to build around for years to come. And honestly, who can blame them? You don't just replace Myles Garrett. You don't wake up one day and find another generational pass rusher waiting for you in the draft. Garrett isn't just good, he's historically great. He's the all-time leader in sacks for players under 30. He's a former Defensive Player of the Year. He's the kind of athlete that changes how offenses scheme week to week. If the Browns let him go, they're not just losing a player, they're losing their identity. Still, as impossible as it sounds, 3 first-round picks have a way of making any team at least pick up the phone. Especially a team like Cleveland, which has been stuck in mediocrity for what feels like decades. That's the kind of haul that could rebuild an entire roster, that could reset the franchise if they play their cards right. The question is, do the Browns trust themselves to make those picks count? Because history tells us that Cleveland hasn't exactly been a model of front office excellence. They've had their fair share of busts, mismanagement, and missed opportunities. Trading Garrett would be an enormous gamble. A signal to fans that they're starting over again, that the rebuild button is being pressed one more time. And frankly, the fan base might not stomach that. Browns fans have been through enough heartbreak to last a lifetime. Losing Myles Garrett could be the final straw. Then there's the contract situation. Garrett's deal isn't an easy one to move. There's a no-trade clause, which means he'd have to sign off on any move before it happens. There's also the matter of salary cap logistics. The Browns would have to eat a significant portion of his cap hit just to make the trade work financially. It's not impossible. Teams find ways to manipulate the cap all the time, but it's not simple either. And the Eagles, for all their aggression, are still limited by the same salary cap everyone else is. The math would be tricky. The timing would have to be perfect, and both sides would have to be willing to play a little bit of financial gymnastics to make it happen. But let's be real here. The NFL has taught us over and over again that impossible doesn't exist when it comes to trades. If a player wants out, and a team wants him, badly enough, deals happen. They always do. Just look at Jalen Ramsey, Khalil Mack, Tyreek Hill, superstar names that no one ever thought would be moved until they were. The question isn't really can the Eagles pull it off, it's will the Browns let them. And if Myles Garrett himself starts pushing behind the scenes, if he walks into the front office and says, "Get me out of here," then Cleveland's leverage starts to evaporate fast. What makes this situation even more fascinating is the psychology behind it. The Browns are a proud franchise, but they're also haunted by decades of failure. They don't want to look like the team that couldn't keep its stars happy. They don't want to be known as the place where elite players go to waste. Trading Garrett, even for a massive haul, would send a message that Cleveland is still that team, still rebuilding, still searching for direction. Meanwhile, the Eagles are everything the Browns wish they were: smart, aggressive, consistently competitive. A franchise that knows how to win and how to stay relevant. Garrett moving from Cleveland to Philadelphia would almost feel symbolic. A star escaping dysfunction to join an organization built on stability and vision. Of course, the Browns can always say no. They can dig their heels in and declare that Garrett isn't going anywhere. And if they do, the Eagles will just move on to the next target. But even if nothing happens by the deadline, this story isn't going away anytime soon. Because when a superstar like Myles Garrett is unhappy, when a team like Philadelphia is lurking, the whispers never really stop. They just get louder every time the Browns lose another game. Every time Garrett looks frustrated on the sideline. Every time Roseman picks up the phone and checks in just to see if the price has changed. And that's the beauty and the chaos of the NFL. No one is ever truly safe. Every contract, every promise, every untouchable label can vanish in an instant when ambition meets opportunity. The Eagles are playing chess while everyone else is still figuring out checkers. The Browns are holding a piece of history, trying to decide whether to cash it in or hold tight and hope for a miracle turnaround. Somewhere in the middle of all this stands Myles Garrett, dominant, frustrated, and possibly ready for a fresh start. Whether that happens this week, this season, or a year from now, one thing's for sure: the story isn't over. And if the Eagles are really willing to put 3 first-rounders on the table, it might just be getting started. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Myles Garrett has broken the silence. and the ripple effects are already hitting the Cleveland Browns locker room like a storm no one saw coming. The star defensive end, known for his intensity on the field and his commanding presence, reportedly told teammates and insiders in the past week that he's tired of pretending everything is fine with the franchise. For months, Garrett had maintained a professional front, issuing statements about staying focused and committed, but behind the scenes, sources say, the veteran pass rusher has been quietly frustrated with the team's trajectory, the decisions in management, and the inconsistencies on the field. Now, that frustration has spilled into the public sphere, even if just through carefully placed whispers and insider accounts, creating a stir that's impossible to ignore in a city hungry for wins and star-level performances. The timing couldn't be more dramatic either. Coming off a season where expectations were sky-high, the Browns fell short in ways that left players, fans, and analysts questioning everything from strategy to morale. It's not just the losses that seem to have gotten under Garrett's skin. Sources close to the team indicate that the defensive end has grown increasingly weary of what he sees as a lack of accountability at the top levels of the organization. Rumors are swirling that his dissatisfaction isn't just about play calling or injuries. It's about the culture of the franchise itself. Garrett, who has always been vocal in his support for his teammates and his drive to elevate the team, apparently reached a breaking point after months of internal reflection. Some insiders suggest he's been quietly mentoring younger players while simultaneously questioning whether the Browns are truly structured to compete at the level he knows he and his peers are capable of reaching. There's a sense that he's lost patience with mediocrity and the facade of harmony that often masks deeper issues in locker rooms across the league. Fans have picked up on the tension, too, with social media threads lighting up over cryptic quotes and snippets of interviews where Garrett hinted at his frustrations. While the team has tried to manage the narrative, sources say Garrett's statements are not just idle venting. They reflect a genuine concern about the direction of the franchise. This has set off a chain reaction, with speculation running rampant. Is Garrett considering a trade? Has he given up hope on the current coaching staff? Will the front office respond publicly, or will this simmer behind closed doors until the next big shakeup? The buzz in Cleveland is that this isn't a fleeting moment of disappointment. It's part of a larger reckoning that could reshape the team's future. The Browns, known for their passionate fan base and storied history, are now facing questions about loyalty, leadership, and the balance between individual talent and organizational stability. What makes Garrett's comments particularly noteworthy is his stature both on and off the field. He isn't just another player voicing a gripe. He's one of the NFL's elite defensive forces, a player whose impact can single-handedly change the outcome of a game. For the Browns, losing someone of Garrett's caliber, whether through frustration, trade, or even diminished motivation, would send shockwaves through the roster and the league. According to insiders, teammates are divided in their reactions. Some understand Garrett's stance and share his disappointment, feeling the same underlying frustrations about the team's inability to convert talent into consistent success. Others reportedly worry that this public airing of grievances could fracture locker room cohesion, turning what was once a tightly knit group into a collection of individuals questioning each other's commitment. In professional sports, perception is everything, and Garrett's admission has already begun to shape the narrative around the Browns, with pundits, commentators, and fans all speculating on what it means for the future of the franchise. The story doesn't stop at the locker room, either. Sources indicate that Garrett's dissatisfaction has put pressure on Browns management, forcing them to reevaluate decisions about coaching, roster construction, and even the long-term vision for the team. There are whispers that front office executives are scrambling to manage the situation delicately, balancing the need to maintain order and morale while also acknowledging one of the team's brightest stars might be reaching the end of his patience. Some insiders suggest that contract negotiations, previously quiet and procedural, may take on a new layer of urgency as Garrett's words bring his value and leverage into sharper focus. This has created a media frenzy, with every minor detail, from practice intensity to sideline interactions, being dissected for hints of deeper unrest. Analysts are asking questions that hadn't been asked in years. Are the Browns truly committed to winning now, or are they stuck in a cycle of unmet expectations? Can Garrett, a player at the peak of his powers, continue to give his all in an environment that feels unstable? The buzz is real, and it's only growing louder. Adding to the intrigue, there are reports that other players may be quietly emboldened by Garrett's honesty. In professional sports, it's rare for a star to publicly admit frustration with their own team without triggering rumors of discord, and even rarer for that honesty to ripple through the locker room. Sources suggest that younger players, who have long looked up to Garrett as a mentor and leader, are now more willing to voice their own concerns, whether about coaching, strategy, or team culture. Some of these discussions are reportedly happening in private meetings, in the quiet corners of the training facility, and in locker room hallways after practice, away from the cameras and microphones. This bubbling undercurrent of tension is creating a sense that the Browns might be at a pivotal moment, a crossroads where leadership decisions could define not just this season, but the trajectory of the franchise for years to come. Of course, not everyone is buying into the narrative of discontent. The Browns' official stance has been one of cautious optimism, emphasizing team unity and the drive to succeed. Coaches and management have offered measured statements, underscoring the importance of focus and resilience, while subtly downplaying any suggestion that Garrett is unhappy in a way that could disrupt the team. But insiders insist that these public statements are carefully curated, designed to maintain the illusion of calm while internal conversations simmer behind closed doors. The contrast between public messaging and private sentiment is fueling speculation, and for sports media, that's exactly the kind of story that ignites discussion, debate, and rumor mills. Fans and commentators alike are reading between the lines, trying to determine whether Garrett's words are the tip of the iceberg or a warning sign that real changes need to happen immediately. As the weeks unfold, the situation promises to remain fluid. Garrett's honesty has opened a door into the inner workings of the Browns organization, giving the public a rare glimpse into the thoughts of a player who has both the talent and the platform to influence the franchise in profound ways. Rumors about trades, internal conflicts, and management shakeups are circulating, but nothing has been confirmed. What is clear, however, is that Garrett's frustration is genuine, and his willingness to speak openly about it marks a new chapter in his career and potentially in the Browns' story. For Cleveland, a city accustomed to hoping and waiting, the next moves will be scrutinized intensely, with every interview, practice, and game serving as a potential indicator of whether the team can reconcile talent with ambition or whether this star player will start looking elsewhere for the fulfillment and recognition he clearly believes he deserves. In the end, Myles Garrett's statement is more than just a moment of candor. It's a seismic shift in the Browns' narrative. It exposes cracks that have been quietly widening over time and forces a conversation that many inside the organization may have hoped to avoid. From the perspective of the fans, it's a revelation that brings both excitement and anxiety, as everyone tries to read the signals about the team's future. And for Garrett himself, it's a declaration that his energy, focus, and commitment are not to be taken for granted, a warning shot to anyone who might underestimate the impact of his voice both on the field and off. The Browns now face a critical juncture, one that will require clarity, leadership, and perhaps a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, because the man who can redefine the game on defense is no longer willing to hide behind a facade. The rumor mill is spinning, the speculation is intensifying, and one thing is certain: the Browns and the NFL world will be watching closely to see what comes next. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!